Hi everyone, welcome back to Visually Hidden Selects. I'm Peter O'Brien, and today I would like to talk to you about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. From 1986, written and directed by John Hughes, and starring Matthew Broderick, Jennifer Grey, Alan Ruck, Sara, Jeffrey Jones, and in an abstract way, the city of Chicago. This was John Hughes' fourth film as a director and his fourth consecutive film set in and around Shermer High School in the fictional town of Shermer, Illinois. 16 Candles was kind of dramatic, but also comedic. He was trying to find that balance. The Breakfast Club really went into some deep, dark, dramatic places for the characters, but it also had some comedic highs. And then Weird Science was really just kind of a straightforward comedy. And Ferris Bueller kind of took all of those narrative elements and he really perfected the recipe on this one, where it is 100% balanced between the character's dramatic needs as well as the comedic moments of levity. The story really jumps right in and brings the audience along with it, and the thing that really makes this particular film unique is that the main character, Ferris Bueller, played by Matthew Broderick, breaks the fourth wall almost instantly and throughout the entire film. But it really establishes a good connection with him and the audience, and it acts almost better than a narration because he's talking to us. He's addressing us, he's looking at the camera, making direct eye contact, so automatically we're on his side and we're in his corner. Even though he's cutting school, when I would watch this film when I was younger, I really enjoyed the high school hijinks aspect of it, but looking at it now as an adult and as a filmmaker, there's really a very interesting subtextual commentary on value systems throughout the entire film. Like when Ed Rooney, he's so obsessed with attendance and academics, like that is what he values, because that's all he has in his miserable little life. That's why he's so gung-ho on going after and busting Ferris for skipping school. And Cameron's father, who never appears on screen, but he values this Ferrari more than anything else in his life. That is a point that comes up several times throughout the film, is the value that he places on this car. And really, in kind of a funny way, this movie is actually about Cameron, more so than Ferris Bueller. Yes, his name is in the title, but really the whole genesis of this day off is to show him the beauty and the pleasure that is in life. When we first meet Cameron, he's laying in bed, he's feeling miserable, and throughout the course of the day, Ferris almost goes out of his way to give Cameron these experiences and just kind of break him out of his rut. So it's really just kind of a beautiful story about friendship and the lengths that one will go to help a friend. And it's really funny, when watching this movie, you meet Cameron, and he's played by Alan Ruck, who was 29 years old at the time of filming. And originally, the part was written for and offered to Anthony Michael Hall, but he turned it down. But fortunately, we got Alan Ruck in the part, and he crushes it as Cameron. If it was Anthony Michael Hall, we would kind of have, the geek and Brian and Gary from the previous films in our mind, but Alan Ruck brings such a freshness to the role of Cameron, and really I think the best contribution that Alan Ruck brought to the character of Cameron is his monologue in the third act of the film. I know when I talked about The Breakfast Club in a previous episode, I mentioned Emilio Estevez's monologue as being kind of a highlight of the film, and it's the same case right here, and upon rewatching it, I kind of feel like it's almost a little bit better, because what comes across in Cameron's monologue is so poignant and so powerful and just shows such growth in such a short amount of time and such insight into a character that has been relatively quiet and reserved for most of the movie up to that point. And boy, does it have a piece of punctuation at the end of it. Another element about the film that really keeps it driving is the music, which is present almost constantly throughout the film, especially in the beginning. Every single scene with Ferris has either a song playing underneath it or prominently featured throughout it. It's just constant music as a part of his life and a part of his character, but also as a part of the film. You know, this was 1986. It was like peak time for MTV, and so the energy of music videos transfers into this film and its editing as well to help facilitate the story. It was really kind of funny that his previous films like The Breakfast Club, which has a very iconic soundtrack, and even Weird Science with its signature song by Oingo Boingo, this film never had an official soundtrack release because John Hughes felt that the songs didn't work together as an album. That might be the only mistake the man ever made in his entire life, because every song on here just kind of works so well in the context of the scenes that while listening to it, you're right back in the movie. You know, it almost works as a score that way. They are so well integrated into the story and the visual and the editing that I would kill for this soundtrack. You know, it's awesome. I think my favorite thing about this movie, though, are the supporting characters, and not even the, featured supporting characters, but the background supporting characters. You know, the character actors, they just bring such great flavor to this story, and they're sprinkled throughout. You know, you meet them all at different points in time. For example, Ben Stein as the boring teacher in the beginning of this film, he really kind of sets the tone for Ferris's motivation. You know, like you watch the students in the class that Ferris is missing, and you can completely understand why Ferris would not want to be there. You know, it is such an accurate portrayal of a high school student's perspective of their class and of their teacher. And Edie McClure as Grace, the secretary, you know, the first time you see her, I think she's pulling pencils out of her hair. And it's just in the background. It's just a thing that makes the characters real, but at the same time, quirky and interesting. One of my favorite exchanges in the film comes from Richard Edson, who plays the garage attendant, where he approaches Ferris and his friends as they're pulling into the parking garage with their Ferrari, and Ferris says to him, "You speak English?" And Richard Edson just kind of looks at him a little funny and says, "What country do you think this is?" But really, when it comes to the supporting cast and the character actors in this film, it's really all about Charlie Sheen and his scene-stealing performance. He has 2 scenes in this movie, and his whole first scene is really almost like a visit from the ghost of Christmas future. You know, when you watch it now and look back at history. I think there's a timelessness about this film that really keeps it open to audiences even 40 years after it was originally released. There's really a strong connection from the voice of the characters that spans time. There's nothing in here that really dates it insofar as the story and the characters go. Maybe some of the fashion, maybe some of the hairstyles, but that's all really superficial. At its core, the experience, I think, transcends. And that's really what this film is about. You know, he says it in the beginning and he says it at the end. And it really is a nice summation of the story, is that life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. I think it just serves as a good reminder that it doesn't hurt to take a day off every once in a while. So that's it for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I really hope you like this recommendation, and please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future selections. If you do watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off, leave us a comment and let us know what you think of the film. We will be discussing it at length on the next Visually Hidden Selects podcast, so be sure to tune into that. And until next time, see ya!